Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are here with episode 3 of the NOS Cast podcast, New School, Old School podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a few things. With me, I have my right hand men. With me, I got Raider, Thane, and Sam. I'm going to be going over a few topics and figuring out, what's new in the industry here. So thank you guys for coming in. Hello to everybody in chat. Hello to the people listening at home that are watching from YouTube. Hello. Do make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Follow if you're on Twitch. Like and subscribe if you are on YouTube. Go ahead and drag our boys up now. How's it going, fellas?
Hey, man.
Day in paradise.
Shit.
Another day in paradise, he says. What's up, Raider? Raider is he's new to the NOS Cast podcast. He's actually has some cold feet.
What you talking about?
And hasn't wanted to join because it doesn't feel like and be able to make it. So Raider, you gotta answer the same question that everybody that is new to the cast has to answer. Need your three favorite old school, new school games. Go.
Old school, new school games.
All the way up to PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox to new school being the Xbox 360 and PS3.
I would have to say probably Mortal Kombat on, I want to say the 64.
Okay.
What else? Doom 64. And then I may get a little jokes on this one, but The Lion King, man. The Lion King was my shit.
Why would you get jokes on that? The game was hard as hell.
And then new school. Probably Modern Warfare 2.
Mm-hmm.
Gears of War. And then I would have to say my most recent one that I've been having the most fun with would probably be Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike? Okay. That's fair. Speaking of Counter-Strike.
Oh, jeez.
Speaking of Counter-Strike. First-person shooters is a topic we haven't talked about on this podcast yet, and I feel like and I feel like that's something that we definitely need to crack into. So let's talk about it. We have old school genre first-person shooters, classics like the traditional, Counter-Strike Source. It was made before I was born. I don't actually know if that's true, but I'm gonna go with it anyways. Then we got Halo 2, Halo 1, Modern Warfare. We have Medal of Honor. Going all the way up to new school, we have, of course, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. We got Call of Duty Black Ops 4. We got Counter-Strike Global Offense. I would still consider that new school, in my opinion. We got games like Titanfall. We got all kinds of shit.
Titanfall with doo-doo.
Listen. Can't just because you're bad at a game doesn't mean the game is doo-doo.
Yikes.
So anyways, let's talk about it. Let's start with our favorites, guys. Thane, what would you say one of your all-time favorite old school first-person shooters were?
I mean, all-time favorite old school, if we're going by the same thing from PS2 and the original Xbox back,
Yep.
it would actually have to be the original Doom.
Ooh.
on PC.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't like your typical first-person shooter where, you know, you've got your gun to your shoulder and whatnot. No, it was your hip-fire gun sticking out of your stomach going to it.
Okay.
So that one would definitely have to take the cake for my old school.
I feel that. And new school? What you got?
New school.
school.
Favorite new school one. Actually, I'm gonna have to go with Resident Evil 7.
Okay,
Right.
that's been brought up a lot in these last cast that was brought up quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, for what it was as a horror game was fantastic, but it also brought a new element to Resident Evil games because of the forced first person. And I felt that it wasn't a bad push for the Resident Evil series.
Okay.
You know, third person Resident Evil was great, but I liked that whole being trapped within first person, so you couldn't peek corners and couldn't see half the shit that was going on. You know, played to its element.
All right. And what about you, Raider?
I would say old school probably be Perfect Dark. Probably be one of my favorite ones.
Well, shit.
And then new school, it'd be probably a tie. Like I said, either Modern Warfare 2 or probably Modern Warfare 3.
Okay. Sam?
Old school, hands down, Halo 2.
Suck. Suck.
I'll probably tie it with Unreal Tournament, honestly. Unreal Tournament, maybe, probably Perfect Dark. Going all that's in there. But new school, I would probably say I had the most fun playing Battlefield 4, honestly.
Okay.
On 360, yeah. I
Oh,
would say I had the
Hardline?
most fun playing that.
No, Battlefield 4 wasn't Hardline. Was it?
No.
No.
Well, Hardline's in there, yeah.
Okay.
Hardline was up there too. A lot of people didn't like Hardline. They said it was too arcadey, but I actually preferred when Battlefield went the arcadey route with it.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't like that.
If I had to say old school, I think definitely have to go with, of course. Well, shit, it wasn't a first person, but it's shooter just in general. Of course, I'm gonna put Gears in there for honorable mentions. That's where I met Raider. That's where I stomped Raider. And moving on.
So we just had to throw that out there.
I see it.
Let's see. Let me think. Old school. What did I spend a lot of my time playing? Shoot. I guess I would say. Oh, you know what? Rainbow Six Lockdown. That was a huge fun favorite for me.
Yeah,
I don't remember if that was first person. You know, it was first person. It was. Yeah, I played. That was my first time I played online ever. Like ever.
Ever?
Online. Ever. Never. New school. I definitely got to say. Was Halo 3, 100%, and Modern Warfare 2. I'll crack those two into play. For sure.
Am I the only one here that didn't like Modern Warfare 2?
Only reason
I'm gonna say yeah.
Only reason I guess I liked it so much was because that was whenever the whole which one's better, Halo versus Call of Duty, and like I would go on Call of Duty and smack the crap out of people and be like, "So you call this skill?" And it was because
I feel like that Call of Duty was probably just like the most balanced.
facts.
You think? Even with all the
Facts.
glitches?
Well, I mean,
The dual
I
models
didn't-
from across the map?
I didn't really.
Is that the one that had Tech Knife and Commando Pro?
I mean, yeah, but to be quite honest, like, unless I don't want to say that I was like god tier at Modern Warfare 2, but I really never had that honest issue. Whenever I went to a lobby and I saw somebody that had dual akimbo Rangers and or the AA-12 or you know whatever, I was honestly on that. Like Ninja Pro, what was it? It was lightweight Ninja Pro and Commando Pro. What was it? No, Ninja Pro.
Sleight of Hand Pro. And Ghost, I believe. In that one. Because
It
Ghost
was-
was a blue perk.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was
Or is
the
that just
red
me?
one. The one that had you
Sleight of hand, right?
shoot harder through objects.
Oh,
Stopping
yeah,
power, yeah.
stopping
So
power.
it was Ninja Pro stopping power and lightweight, and that would to me that's what handled the situation a lot easier. Plus, I just was able to control and lock shit down, especially on Terminal and Favela. It was no biggie for me.
Yeah, I could play the game and maneuver around. It's just when I compare it to Call of Duty 4, even dating back to Call of Duty the Big Red 1, like I feel like
Big Red
that
one.
one just had yeah, I feel like Modern Warfare 2 just had the
you know what?
craziest shit in it that kind of broke the game, but I guess
No, I feel
'cause
that.
I say I hate it, but it's my least favorite COD, but I was actually decent at it. It's probably one of the most successful games that I played.
No, I feel that. I completely forgot about the series, but this is definitely one of the old timely ones that I feel like a lot of people don't even talk about anymore, but because of its horrible remix, but Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor.
The original Medal of Honor games were great.
My god, bro! Medal of Honor was probably the first person shooter that I ever played on traditional PlayStation. Like that was. It was.
Thank you.
Damn, it was good.
Might be right. Because I'm trying to think because it wasn't too many first person shooters back on PlayStation 1 days. They really didn't come into era with the N64 and the PlayStation 2. Because I remember Red Faction being another one. Time Splitters being another one. That game was amazing. If you never played it.
Which one? Time Splitter?
Time Splitters.
That one's great. You remember Black on the Xbox?
Oh man, Black.
That game was awesome as well.
It was great.
Man.
They actually bought that back for
the backwards compatible. I had no idea.
Actually get it.
I need to get me an Xbox.
Okay, PS4 gay. You should never went to PlayStation.
I do have an honorable mention for first-person shooters for new school PlayStation games was MAG.
Isn't that the one that had like 128 players?
Yeah, on PlayStation 3. It had 128 players and 3 factions, and the game was stable as fuck.
Yeah,
like compared to like most other games where you would look at like Call of Duty or whatever on those platforms at the time, and you had internet issues and stability problems all the time, but MAG did servers right, and it was just
I don't understand how that game did a lot of funding, because on top of that, the game was free to play. That was the nuts part, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, you had to buy it.
Oh, you had to buy it. Okay, I thought that game was free to play. My bad.
No, they did like after a while, closer to the end of its series, PlayStation did give it away for free as part of their PlayStation Plus thing, for the month there. But like, yeah, it was great. 3 different factions, 128 players on a map. Like the only other game that's ever done something that big and had it be successful was Battlefield. But even then, it was a grand total of 64 people between 2 teams. And even then, the stability for it wasn't the greatest.
No,
I have to agree to a certain extent. I mean, I went back and played Hardline when they updated it and they made it. I think it was 32 on 32. I think so. Yeah, you're right. I take that back. Moving right along.
So I guess, I lost train of thought just now.
So
I was train of thought just now. I was spaced out.
Here, hold on. I got a question for everybody. Then, still we're getting to first persons here, but what do you guys feel that the new school games for first person shooters are doing wrong that older school games had better? Fly, we'll start with you.
Shit. Servers, man. Well, I mean, I guess back in the day, no, because traditional Xbox had servers, and honestly, whenever I played Rainbow Six Lockdown, I never had an issue with lag. And internet was way less evolved than it is now. And even though that the community in itself was smaller for online gamers, so like servers could have been a lot more stable, I still feel like that's a huge issue nowadays with old school FPS games versus new school FPS games. I'll break it down to servers, even though it doesn't pertain to that just in itself, but that's still a huge thing for me. But if I had to go for just the FPS genre in itself, creativity, I guess, in its finest. I don't know, I feel like that's a big issue.
By creativity, do you mean like how they're just reusing multiple sets of assets, or
none of the maps
how would you want to expand on that?
Except for Battlefield, none of the maps really feel too different from each other whenever you go into a game. Like every map just feels like whenever I'm playing a first-person shooter, I used to have to get used to every map, but now it's just like it just bases itself down to arena style map play. It's not like Battlefield where you drop down and you have a lot of stuff to explore and expand on, which of course Call of Duty is an arena shooter, but there's a lot of shooters now copying that game style. They're not having like how Counter-Strike, for example, even though there's routes included on it, I feel like there's still so many different maps that are being produced for Counter-Strike in the cycle that are giving it to where you're actually having to learn those maps, learn those peak sites, learn those routes like in detail, because there's so many different ways to flank an enemy and still make it to bomb site correctly. But with Call of Duty is literally just becoming routes. It's becoming the MOBA of shooters, and just 3 lanes, mid, right, left, boom, bam, that's it. And it's like, okay, so where's it at? Like where is that? Where's that difference at?
All right. Yeah, I feel that. I completely feel that. Sam, anything you want to add, change, different opinion?
I was just gonna on what he was touching on Call of Duty. For as far as new school games, I would say they perfected, or not perfected, but I think they did a good job with the controller schemes, introducing that with the aim down the left trigger and shoot with the right trigger and that type of stuff. Because back in like Halo, you had to click, back in those days, you had to click the right thumbstick and to aim down the sights and stuff. So I feel like they did good controller wise. I feel like movement's great. The only thing that really, to me, that plays a really big difference is, I would say, with the invention of party chat. Because see, back in the day, you had to actually be in game chat. So if you had a mic and you communicated with your team, it makes the games a lot more fun, in my opinion. But now everyone's just pretty much running around doing their own thing. So yeah, it's more like when you play a game like Call of Duty or any other, typical fast-paced first-person shooter, I feel like it's just a mindless running gun. You're not really thinking. That's why I enjoy games like Counter-Strike nowadays, because you actually have to think and put some thought process into what you're doing. Aside from S&D and Call of Duty.
I wanna agree. Aside from agree, I wanna add on to that statement. That's why I feel like Xbox 360 was the best console in its era, because it forced. That's how I got so many friends. That's where I met Black Shadow, or Justin, and I met him on Thankyou Z, and it was because you had to be in game chat.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Voice was like mandatory. It's either you didn't have a mic or you had a mic, but it's like Halo 3 and Halo 3, honestly, to me, the custom games, the big team social slayers, all of that was so much fun, because even though everybody but my dad had sex with my mom at that time, because that was just like, even though there was so much trash talking, it was so much fun, because that's where the competition came from. That's where everybody met their good friends from. That's where everybody just had a great time. Sometimes you got into that lobby and everybody was just messing around and having fun, and that's what made gaming so much fun. That's why the 360 was the power system of its time, and to me, that's what made that system so great, first person shooters included, because you go into a lobby, you got Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2. You got
my games,
the Blur beta, which was fantastic. That was a racing game, so I won't talk on that one. But just voice chat in itself being so innovative, and then now, like Sam says, you don't have to be in voice chat. You don't have to be in game chat. And even then, not really anybody has a mic, or nobody wants to communicate. If you do, hard R's or, anything like that, it's so stupid. Like, what happened to everybody? Everything's so competitive now. And even though I run the esports org, I take myself away from competitive and having fun. Everybody wants to go pro in this. Everybody wants to go pro in this. Everybody wants to go pro in this. And it's like, have fun.
I want to elaborate on that, but I'm going to let Raider go ahead and say his piece. But once
I was going to say we should get back on topic here. All right, ready to go ahead?
I forgot what the topic was, to be honest.
Man,
So basically, it's what you feel old school games have done right, and what can be improved in new school games overall.
I feel like a lot of like the movement in new school games needs to be improved. Like, why did we go to like sliding? Like, I don't feel like that should even be a thing. Like, you can constantly slide in Call of Duty, and that's one thing that frustrates me. Like, old school movement was so much better, where you can just navigate the map without having to do like any like jetpacking or sliding or anything like that.
they just
I just feel like the movement should be better.
That's an added dynamic for certain Call of Duty stuff. That's not in every Call of Duty, so I get what you're saying with that. But if the game has to, I want to say evolve and not be just another copy and paste shooter, you have to add some type of different element to it.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like the I get what you're saying with the jetpacks. Like, I feel like jetpacks were on the subject of Call of Duty. I feel like jetpacks were a bad idea. I feel like they were a bad idea for Halo as well. But the sliding I can understand, because I guess if you want to get those style points, those cool points or whatever when you're gaming, and you hit that crazy G slide, or you hit that slide around the corner and get those shots off, I guess that makes the player feel accomplished and rewarded for doing it. So I kind of understand why it's there, but I get what you're saying too about you just want basic movement in certain games.
Yeah, I mean, like the sliding, like I just feel like it just takes away from like, okay, basic gun skill. If you're sliding around a corner and
I would disagree
shooting
with
somebody,
yeah, I kind
that.
of.
I would. Okay, go ahead and say what you're saying, and I'll tell you why I disagree with it.
I don't know. I feel like the whole sliding and everything is just like, you're sliding around the corner and you can still shoot me. I just feel like that's a little bit over the top.
Well, that's in henceforth with internet connection and lag compensation for
Desyncs.
yeah, for say, because for me, I feel like sliding actually adds a bit of a skill gap to a game like Call of Duty. When you want to peek a corner, like a guy's holding an angle with, say, a sniper or whatever, you're not just gonna show. You can either shoulder peek it, you can jump it, and then you got the slide now, so that adds a whole nother dynamic to moving around the map.
True.
And for me, I feel like that just plays in a whole different skill gap versus just standard walking left, right, up, down, back.
I agree.
That's just me.
I can agree to that, but the one thing I will say, just to add on that subject, is that I feel that you can do the sliding too often.
Exactly.
Right? That's the one thing that personally I would say would bother me, is the fact that you can slide, hop, jump into another slide, hop, jump into another slide. Like, there should be a mandatory, you have to sprint for 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds before you can go into another knee slide.
Wasn't it like that in Crisis, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know if you played Crisis multiplayer. I thought
Time Crisis? There was a cool
Crisis.
Like
like
Crisis,
the original Crisis. Yeah. There was a cooldown on it. Like, you could sprint, slide, and then you could hit your cover or whatever, and then you'd have to sprint again before you slide again.
Yeah. Okay. So I know it was a game that had that mechanic in it. It had the cooldown on slides.
Right. So like, I
wanna
wouldn't
say
mind that.
double jump.
Yeah, like I wouldn't mind having that kind of thing come back, because the whole fact of like you can jump, slide, come around a corner, shoot me, jump again after shooting me, hit the ground, slide, and keep going. Like, I've actually seen people do that. Like, I watch a lot of competitive streams for Call of Duty, and the fact that they just jump, slide, go around a corner, gun somebody down, jump, slide, and keep going. It's like, how does that make sense physically? Where is
that.
the capability? Because I can't do that in real life. I can't go from a sprint to a fucking full-on flat ground slide, jump, and then slide again.
Well, that's why it's a video game.
Because you gotta. Yeah, you can't.
I get that, right? But if you look at the aspects of the game itself, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going to be my go-to example. They don't have little thrusters like they did in IW or Black Ops 3, where that made it a little more sense that you could constantly do that. Black Ops 4, like, the only character that I could see potentially being able to do something very close to that would be Ruined, specifically because he has the grappling hook. All right? So he jumps, slides, grappling hooks, as he's got that forward momentum already, hits the ground and slides again. right? It's just the fact that they have that extra forward momentum, where there's no ground hitting after a slide that could make you have that forward momentum because you've already went up, not forward. That's my only qualm with the game. Other than that, I feel it's an okay game.
Right.
And then that's what I'm gonna put on.
I'll agree in that aspect. I feel like there should be cooldowns for the slides and stuff like that because it's all tactical. I feel like as gamers, we are from an older generations where gaming was becoming more evolved as we grew older. We grew up when, like, we were there firsthand when Call of Duty and whenever Call of Duty like hit its peaking point and then like coasted from there. We were there when Halo hit its peak point, coasted from there. Like, we experienced a lot of stuff. So a lot of these gaming developers are trying to cater to newer generations to make sure that the game stays fresh enough. And we as older gamers, we can't. It's like customers that come into my store where I work and they're like, "Oh, I'm 50 something years old. I don't know how an iCloud works." And I look at them like they're retarded, first of all, because it's like, what do you mean? Like, that doesn't matter. You're just too lazy to adapt to technology. I don't want to be that person. As a person, I want to be able to evolve with the games that are coming into play. And no, I'm not going to be as great as I used to be, of course. Reflexes aren't as fast and whatever. But we have to mentally adapt and evolve in order to be able to enjoy and play the games that are out. No, we're not always gonna like it, of course, because we came from back whenever everything was base and laid out, and we enjoyed that. Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3 even like took a couple of steps and added tactical things, like it added the EMP ball, it added the flash ball, the stuff like that, the health regen, the bubble shield, and we were okay with that. But we also really enjoyed still Halo 2 for what it was, and Halo 2 still had online servers, so people were still playing Halo 2. And it's just one of those things where it's coming to that time where we do have to evolve. No, I personally don't understand the points of jetpacks. I think it's retarded. Advanced Warfare was the worst Call of Duty in history, 100%. Will always be. Everything was unbalanced in there, but it's that aspect of that's where we're at in games where we as people have to evolve. Sam, I know you wanted to touch on a subject. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you say that these games, they add in new stuff and they not gonna say they force, but they want players to adapt to the new mechanics. Now, on the strength of that, do you think, does that make or break the game, or is it just within the players itself?
I'll definitely say this. I wish that, and I feel like it would actually bring a bigger audience than hinder the audience. If, like we had talked about the last day, was off of chat, for example, Halo 6, we would like to see a core and a new school game mode. Bring us back to old school traditional Halo where we didn't have power-ups. It was the base bare bones of the game. Let us play with that. If you're gonna add new stuff to the game, Advanced Warfare would have been fine with that, but they added that in late, like way too late. They added it where it was just like a base game mode and there was no like jetpacks or anything, and you just ran around and that was it. It was bare bones. It was the bare bones gameplay. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think it was a limited time too.
Right.
I don't think it was just a set game mode that was just stayed there.
And the fact of that point was more people were playing bare bones than they were the regular game mode, and I feel like that's a huge turning point for a lot of old school gamers. Because first of all, we're not using our mom's credit card. At least I'm not. And the little kids are, and that's understandable because that's where we were at the time and place. But it's like, if I'm dishing out, $67 to $80, depending on what the game is, depending on what edition I want, I should be able to have that ability to, if I'm jumping onto a newer game, if you had something for the older people to be like, hey, thanks for staying with us, here you go. Here's a game mode, even if it's just 1 or 2 different game modes, right? Have 1 or 2 different game modes, bare bones it out, call it a day. I don't understand what the issue is.
Yeah, that was something that I brought up with the Halo 6 there. Just, separate it in 2 different categories. Let us older gamers enjoy what we enjoy, and because like me, I'm probably going to be one of the few people that can say this, but I really enjoyed Halo 5 for what it is, right? Like Halo 3, Halo 2, phenomenal games. Played the hell out of them. You know, competed competitively in Halo 3 for a fair amount of time. And even Call of Duty, right? Like, I had my great times with that. Halo 4 came out, and I was extremely disappointed with what they brought out, because the abilities that they brought out for the game were just completely garbagey. We couldn't really use any of them, minus maybe 2.
Halo 4 was Call of Duty in space.
Pretty much, and it was garbage. It was literally the worst Halo, and it almost killed the franchise. I will say that time and time again. But Halo 5, you know, they took the feedback that they got, and they kind of fixed the abilities. You know, sure, not everybody's the biggest fan of them, but at the same point in time, like, I feel that it was a better balance of what they wanted to bring out with Halo 4, but they still kind of left it to the set where, you know, brain English, God, where they wanted Halo 3 to evolve to. All right, so I felt that it wasn't bad, but at the same point in time, like I said, I feel that it needs, like, when it comes to these newer games that are coming out, do cater to the new crowd, obviously, because that's where you're going to make most of your money from, but still give back to the older, because that's where the majority of your heart's going to, and that's where the majority of your reviews are going to come from.
Especially when you're that deep in the franchise, right? You're 5 games in, 6 if you count ODST.
Technically, if you want to count all of the games, they're on their 8th game coming out.
Is it really?
Yeah, because you got Reach,
Halo
1 through 4, ODST for the first-person shooter models, right? That would bring us up to 8. If you want to throw in Halo Wars, that's another 2, so that'd be coming up on 10. Plus the hell were they called? The Spartan Ops ones, right? So they'd be coming up on 12 games.
Jesus.
Yikes.
For the Halo series.
I was talking in chat to Rain Man in a different Discord. He hasn't been on the show yet, guys, but I think he does plan on being on one of the shows coming up. At least I don't remember. No, he wasn't. But he was saying that he prefers trilogy games over big series games because it lacks creativity, and I kind of understand where he's coming from on that. Like, I truly do.
They run out of story ideas, and they just reuse the same story template. It's the same thing. I'm gonna go off topic here. I'm gonna talk about a movie, and you look at the Star Wars, right?
Oh Lord.
Right. So you start with the original trilogy,
right,
and then you come into the newer ones where you go back to like 1, 2, and 3, right? So those all those 6 first movies had their own kind of plot line and idea of what they wanted to do.
Right.
Now you come to the new series that they're coming out with for the trilogy. So, you know, The Last Jedi and all that stuff. And it's literally cut and paste the first 3 movies that came out all in one movie for the very first one.
Correct.
And it's like, you know, why like, I get that, you know, these things are popular, but why expand on something that's already been done?
No, you're right.
Why do you need to push out something that, you know, we've already done to death? You could say the same thing for Call of Duty. Like, how many fucking games are there now? You have 3 sets of Black Ops series. You had Modern Warfare up to 3. You had the original Call of Duty games, which was, I think, another set of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Ghost. So that right there is 10 games.
World War II.
Oh yeah, World War II.
I forgot about it.
Dude, that game was not that memorable. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So that's 11 games. Ghost was good. I enjoyed it.
I preferred the what was it? Not the zombies. I think it was called Infection or something.
Yeah. The aliens.
I didn't mind Ghost. It definitely, like you guys said, it has
S&D in that. Yeah, I feel like S&D was really good in Ghost as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's because it didn't, like, going back to what Fly said about the 3 lanes. Ghosts had many different, like, entrance points to every map.
Facts. That it did. You know what? I will give Ghost that it did have those different lanes, because, man, playing S&D to me was way more anxiety based on Ghost than it was anything else.
Yep.
I won't even lie there. So, we have those aspects that push us away from so many games. Honestly, I just feel like it's getting harder and harder to come up with new ideas, right? And so, for instance, let's talk about Halo Online, right? And I wish that Bungie would have gotten on Halo Online sooner, because whenever I found out about that like back in 2015, whenever it was in Russia. It was in a Russia build, and it had everything that we wanted as Halo players. We wanted a Halo on PC, or we wanted a Halo that had all the Halos combined in it, but allowed us to have the creativity of being able to play all those maps, but get the old school Halo feel to it, or have the new school feel of it, of what we wanted. And now that El Dorado did that, they can't release any new ones because Bungie got butthurt, and it's more frustrating.
It wasn't Bungie, it was Microsoft.
Bungie was
Microsoft, yeah.
Fucking Destiny around that time, and I think 343 was already doing the thing with Master Chief Collection, which I feel like if the launch wasn't so fucking bad, that game would have been great.
Yeah.
The launch was horrible.
The launch was really, really bad. The servers are
single-handedly killed the game.
Yeah, the servers are really bad.
If they had worked on stability of servers over trying to push out additional game modes across all of the fucking 4 games, they would have been fine.
That, or could they just remastered Halo 2? Because that's really what everyone wanted. No one wanted all 4 of those damn games.
Or like my personal opinion on what they could have done was drop 4 off of it, do it as, Halo 1 with the remaster edition, Halo 2 with the remaster, and Halo 3 in. Left the multiplayer in tune with all 3 of them, so that way you could play between each of them, no problem. And then worked on servers.
And we can go
because of the fact that they introduced into Halo 4 with it, caused a lot of the problems, because then they tried to go through and work the Halo 4 server, because that game had the most problems out of the other 3 that they launched.
Right. And honestly, we can go into also saying that it is also the community's fault. We have so many people nowadays that are getting more and more impatient because they want a game to be perfect off release. And it's like, I think that's what separates older players from newer players, because we knew that was going to be something that needed to be fixed. Yes, we're going to get frustrated. Yes, we're going to talk about it. But overall, we're not going to stop playing the game. We're not going to take it back. I may stop playing the game because, I'll just wait for the new patch to come out, right? But I'm not going to sit here and talk about how bad the game is if the game just released and it's still working on its patches. For example, Mavericks. I wanted to get in the Founders edition of Mavericks so bad. So I bought the edition, and then they pushed it back like 4 months. And everybody, like, the chat in there was so toxic for the longest time in Discord. And so many people were like, we want a refund, and nobody wanted to wait for it. And the people that did want to wait for it were trying to, we're being more understanding now that people are able to play it. Of course, it's still under NDA, so we can't stream it. But so many, it's more of they're building it from the ground up, but allowing people in there, and they're taking their sweet time with it. And I like it. I like it so much. I love it so much.
Just to touch on that, you say you were in the Discord. Was the developers and all that stuff in the Discord?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that being on PC for one, and then you're able to have a direct line to talk to the developers and people, versus on console you have to just wait for them to put out a statement, so you never know if you're ever getting an update, when the update's coming out, if the update's going to fix what needs to be fixed, or it's going to focus on other stuff. So I get what you're saying, how you want to put that on the community for not sticking it out, but at the same time, when you had ample amount of time to work on this stuff, and you've seen all the games that come before you, you shouldn't already expect this to be an issue, especially from a AAA developer.
No, and you're absolutely right about that, and I completely agree. But I'm comparing like how us as old schoolers versus the new school, we, back then we didn't have the ability to know. I feel like games were more polished when released back in the day than they are now, because you got companies like EA that have been around for God knows how long, and are still on release having the worst servers that anybody has ever seen. And it's like, how?
I
mean-
feel like it's more of them trying to rush everything now.
And it's
Like, I feel like back then they took their time more on games than what they're doing now.
See, and I want to expand on what Raider said there, because like if we look at the timeline for when these games come out, so Halo 1 came out in 2001 or 2. I think it was 2000. Yeah, 2001. Halo 2 didn't come out until 2004. All right, so that was a 3-year gap between when that game came out. All right, Halo 3 didn't come out until 2009. Right? That's a 5-year gap, and look at how polished those games were.
Halo
Sure,
2
there was
came out in 2004. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sure, there was a few online multiplayer bugs, but at the same point in time, Halo 2 was the first officially online multiplayer, right? Like for the Halo franchise, right? For console on top of that. And with how internet was back then to what it is now, where back then we didn't have, gigabit internet where you have 1,000 down, 1,000 up. I'm not saying everybody has that, but I'm just using that as a standpoint. We didn't have that back then. Back then, right? Right? Like, back then, we were sitting there dealing with dial-up and all this other shit where you had very minimal internet. And those servers were solid. Like, we didn't have as many issues as we do now connection-wise.
Facts.
Right? But you come out to these newer games, and you've got, one person with gigabit internet. You got somebody with 300 up, 300 down. You got another person with 25 up, 5 down, like whatever, right? But you're sitting there trying to play on a server-based game, and the server lags like there is no tomorrow. Like, what happened? Like, where did we lose the ability to have stability within our servers to now we have whatever it is trying to connect and put shots into people? Right? Like, if I 4-burst somebody in Halo 3, that person was 4-bursted and dead. I put 4 or 5 burst into somebody in Halo 5, and they're all hitting connecting, and the dude only connects with 3 on his end, and I'm dead.
You're speaking about lag compensation, and the first time I ever heard of it was via Call of Duty. I'm not sure if it was around in the Halo
it was
days.
more so in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 than it was in Halo 3. And whenever I say more so, it wasn't even that bad then. It got more
I feel like it got
bad
worse,
towards the end of the 360 and the PS3 era than anything. It got worse through that time.
Well, can that just be the console infrastructure? Could be just
it's possible
really
that too.
Versus,
I mean, it could be, but at the same point in time, like if you look at Halo 3 to Halo 4, right? And I know this is going to be very bad, but internet stability to the actual matches. How often did you guys have an issue where in Halo 3 somebody disconnected the whole game?
No, they just said migrating host.
Yeah.
It paused for however long, picked a new host, and the game was right back at it. No issues transitioning.
We didn't have that.
Whereas Halo 4, same shit. Host left, the whole server lagged. You'd come back, you would fire your gun, nothing would happen.
Facts.
Right? Like it's the whole thing of like where is these packet losses and information that we're losing? Where did it all go? Like, how is it that when we had shittier internet, crappier consoles, and all this other stuff, and we were able to connect to each other like there was no tomorrow, right? Like almost like you were sitting right next to the person and you could punch them in the face physically, but you actually aren't. To now all of a sudden you're sitting here playing a game and you want to throw your controller through your damn monitor because you can't connect to do anything.
Facts.
Right? Like, where did all of that go? How did we end up feeling like we've reverted?
Kind of feels like we went from dedicated servers to just
Peer-to-peer.
single servers.
Be peer-to-peer. That's what they're like for.
Yeah, but like, so where did we, like, why is that a thing? That's my biggest question on that.
Question. If we only knew.
Right?
It's just amazing for the fact that these companies, these AAA companies, and I'm gonna branch a small amount from FPS, but you got a AAA company like Activision or Sledgehammer or Treyarch, right? I wouldn't even consider Sledgehammer. But
well, I mean, they made a few of the Call of Duty games,
I know,
so
just
they fit in the AAA category.
But you have companies like that, and then you go on here, right? And then we get last year, game just released, dev indie company. In which game could I say that I've had least issues with last year than anything whenever it comes to an indie company on connections? And I guess we'll get more into that later, but I'm noticing that indie game companies are coming in kind of clutch when it comes to connection overall.
Would have to agree. There's minor hiccups now and then, but it isn't bad as
right
with the AAA
like
stuff.
whenever I'm chasing you guys through and I'm trying to knock you off Clock Tower, Raider has first-hand experience. You know, it's not an issue, is what I'm saying. Like, if I'm going to grab you, I don't have to like grab you and then miss you and then realize you're like 3 feet to my right. It's like, oh shit, like he's right next to me. Like,
I don't know, man. I feel like it was kind of laggy when you did that.
Shut the fuck up. But it's just I don't understand why AAA companies have so much issue. I know that they have a huge player base. I understand that. I get it 1,000%. But you should be prepared for that issue. It's literally at this point where there's no excuse why you cannot buy the best of the best servers, and then you have your beta, you stress test, and then you just go from there. You stress test up until initial release, you get a group of players, you stress test it out, call it a day, keep going. But big companies, they already know people are gonna buy it, so it's either they really can't buy servers big enough, or they're just really wanting to milk people out of their money because they know people are going to buy it regardless. Once you buy it, they already got your money. It don't matter no more. What are you going to worry about? DLC? What is it? 60 to 70% already bought the battle pass or the season pass or anything. So who cares? What does it matter? We're going to stick around.
I feel like they just know that it's gonna sell, so they just don't care.
They don't care. That's a shame that it's come to that. Like, why are you okay with it? Why are you okay with that?
Well, it's the trend of wanting to not be left out. You know how that shit go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone's playing a game and, oh, you don't have it? Oh man, that sucks for you.
Yeah,
nobody wants to be that guy.
Going to school.
That's
hey,
shit.
me and such and such were playing Call of Duty last night. Where were you at? I don't have it.
Yeah. Especially in this generation. Like back in the day, you could deal with it, but like now, it's like, geez, these kids are so harsh.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even want to talk about it. We not gonna bring that one up. We'll talk about toxicity another day.
That'll be a podcast in its own.
But talking about, going back to indie devs versus these AAA companies, I mean, what do you guys think? Who do you think is running the poll as of 2019? Who do you guys think is in the lead right now? Do you think the indie devs
100%.
are in the lead right now? Do you think the AAA companies are still holding their lead? Sam, you said indie devs 100%. Raider, what do you think?
I'd have to agree with Sam.
And Thane?
I mean, like, what kind of poll are we talking about? Are we talking about monetary income, or are we talking about like the future, of pushing out games? Are we going to be going more towards indie? Okay, so if we're going towards the future, I'm leaning like we're going to be buying more indie games and finding more from indie developers than we are going to be major companies, simply because of the fact that a lot of these AAA companies are rushing stuff. They're trying to push out too much stuff to stay relevant.
Now,
right?
I will say, aside from Rockstar, I haven't played one bad Rockstar game. I think that's like the only AAA company that just gets everything fucking right.
I can honestly say that Rockstar will always have issues with online, but even the issues are fun to deal with. As weird as that sounds. But
the one thing I'll say about Rockstar is, look at the gap they take between their games.
This is true.
Right? Like you sit there and they have one group for Grand Theft Auto, they have one group for Red Dead, And then they had a few smaller games that they threw in the middle there, right? Like, you know, when Rockstar released GTA 5, that was, I want to say 2015, but I might be.
You said GTA 5? GTA 5 was before 2015, I think.
I don't remember off the top.
2014, I think.
I think it was
2014 or
2013.
Yeah.
2013.
2013. Okay, yeah. So 2013. That was before Red Dead 2 was their most recent development, right? So you take that into fact that that came out when it did, and now you have Red Dead 2, which came out late 2018.
That was a 5-year difference,
right?
in games.
Like, and that's right. So go back to old school Bungie, for instance, right? Halo 2 came out in 2004. Halo 3 came out in 2009. That's a 5-year gap. So from that producer, we waited 5 years for a game that came out, and it came out great. And now, sure, you know, looking at Red Dead, they just released their online beta in November. Yeah, there's a few bugs, but me and my roommate, we play that shit on a regular basis, and we have a lot of fun with it because, you know, it's a solid game. The connection's not terrible. Sure, you have idiots that do their stupid things and they grief the crap out of you, but like, overall, the game is extremely polished because it was a 5-year gap between their last title. So, I mean, you just,
and the massive thing behind that, and I agree with you 100%, is the fact that games nowadays, we look forward to these games coming out, right? But then they come out and they're just like, you know, we're excited for them, but what is the played lifespan of a game? We have, and this is where we'll say that Rockstar to us right now, or to me, is top dog when it comes to play game lifespan, because we had the break between Halo 2 to Halo 3. It felt like forever, but anytime you played Halo 2, it felt like you got on and you were just there to play, and it was so much fun with your friends online. It was whatever. Then you had Halo 3. I got on every day at Halo 3, got on to play a brand new custom game, or the custom games were so good that I just kept playing them and kept meeting new people. Had open lobbies, you did 1v1s, you know, and you walked off, and that was great. Like, it was that, you know, oh bro, let me 1v1 you. Back then that honestly meant something, and then now it's just like, okay, why?
Why am I gonna waste my time?
Yeah, even Gears.
What?
Gears had no sense of anything that you could add to its custom games, right? But in Gears, it was so much fun to play. So much fun to play.
I think that had to do with like the gore in it, though.
Honestly, Gears was just a dope ass game in general.
Yeah, it was.
Gears was just sick as fuck. But going back to the topic at hand, if you guys could say what one of your favorite indie games out is right now, what do you guys feel like it would be? Give me your top 2 favorites. Top 2 or top 3? 1 and 2. Just go.
I'm not sure if Santa Monica's an indie dev, but they made the God of War 4.
I mean,
I'm not sure if they are.
I don't think they are. No, because that's a AAA title in itself.
Sure.
But I think it was more so of a partnership than anything, but I wouldn't consider it an indie game.
You said
but that is
right
a
now.
great game. That is great. That is a beautiful game. That will always be a beautiful game.
I was on the fence if Santa Monica was a indie dev, but
yeah, top
Dead by Daylight definitely up there.
100%.
Hellblade, I haven't played it, but like it won all of those awards. I know that was made by indie dev.
Who's
I need to get on that. But yeah, like from what I've seen and from like the reviews and stuff, I would say Hellblade definitely.
That was made by Ninja Theory.
Is those the guy who made Dead or Alive?
They've made they made Disney Infinity 3.0, DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, Hellblade Fight Back, Heavenly Sword. I wouldn't call them indie. Well, I mean, I guess they just haven't made a lot of games.
I mean,
but they've made AAA titles like heavy.
Yeah.
So I guess I wouldn't call them indie.
Oh. Well, shit then.
Well, I guess, I mean, we can look up the true definition of what an indie game is. Hold on.
Because there's publishers and then there's the developers. That's where the mishaps.
So
Yeah.
all right, independent video game development or indie game development is the video game development process of creating indie games. These are video games commonly created by individual or small teams of video game developers, and usually without significant financial support or video game publisher or outside source.
So basically, somebody
So
that
you need
doesn't have
someone
like multiple teams.
Yeah, I don't
that
think
puts everything out on their own.
I don't think Ninja Theory had that when they first started. So I guess at the time, because Heavenly Sword was really new and nobody really played it, and that was a beautiful game whenever it was released, because that was the female God of War. That was the female God of War. Now Hellblade is the female God of War for the current God of War.
I mean, the way that I would say it is, as an old school developer, back then they would be classified as an indie one.
Facts.
So like, just going based off of the time that the game came out, at the time they would have been an indie dev.
Yeah, so I guess we would go with that. So we got, what did you say? You said Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight, yeah, and Hellblade.
Okay.
But Dead by Daylight came out what, 2016?
Yeah.
What is it? 2000? It was 2016, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we're still playing it to this day. That's crazy.
That
bad for
game
any day.
it's definitely, yeah, June 14th, 2016 was whenever it released on PS4. So yeah, 2016.
Yeah.
And that game has lasted a while. Yes, there's some bugs. Yes, killers are overpowered. Yes, community is somewhat toxic. But that game overall is fun when you play with friends. I've just honestly went back to playing with more of my friends than online than anything, because online has just gotten to that point where you hit that type of community and you really just don't want to spend the time in there. But you play it,
Plus,
but
he can bully us.
it's not that serious, right? What about you, Raider? What do you feel? Well, I mean, I guess you just came over to PC, so if you
I
could
would
say
Dead by Daylight, and then I don't know, man. Like me personally, I don't know. I don't think this is an indie game,
Mhm.
but I would say Killing Floor 2.
that's an indie company. That's Tripwire, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, that's Tripwire.
Yeah, Tripwire is
They
not.
made,
sure.
is it Georgia Media? The people who did Smite? if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken?
they're not super huge out there. They only have a few games.
Yeah, so yeah, I would consider them indie, honestly.
Facts.
So yeah, I would say Killing Floor 2.
Thing.
That's the best goddamn.
Well, I mean, for actually indie studios, the
Games,
two.
man, Talk Studios.
Well, I was gonna say developer-wise, right?
Yeah.
It would be like between 11-bit Studio and how was it? Interactive?
Well, shit.
Yeah.
What game they make?
Well, 11-bit Studios came out with Anomaly, This World Mine, and Frostpunk.
Warmind was really good. Frostpunk was
Yeah,
super nice.
like Frostpunk was a great game. I've watched so much of it. I feel that was a fun game. Anomaly was interesting, for a tower defense game.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. This World Mine was one of the best Polish-made, story-based games I've actually sat down and played,
Facts.
and I had a great time with it. For Bohemian Interactive, they're the ones that brought out Operation Flashpoint with the Cold War Crisis. They brought out Armored Assault, Take on Mars. They were the original group to make DayZ.
I've never played Daisy.
DayZ was. Did you ever play H1 or at least watch it?
Yeah, I played H1. and I
Okay, so
watched
you remember the
DayZ
Just
too.
Survive segment? Yeah. So DayZ was the original founding survival game.
Facts.
So that's where the whole, like, even battle royale, right? The
Yeah.
DayZ battle royale mod, right? It's where it all started from. And so it was made by Bohemian Interactive, which was an indie dev. And I was actually excited when I was doing research and I found out that they were an indie dev, because I've been playing so much Arma 3 lately, and it's been stupid. But they make great games, even though it's just a single studio with their one team.
I think if I would have to add another game into it too, would probably be Dead Cells.
Dead Cells is so much fun.
That's another phenomenal one, yeah.
So much fun.
All right, Fly, what about you?
Shoot, man. Yes. Is my answer. I'm just kidding.
That's a solid answer.
Gonna go with Minecraft. No, I definitely will go with Cuphead being number one. Cuphead was phenomenal in the sense of bringing old school platforming back to what it's like. It's home ground, and it kept that old school classic feel. It was made by Studio MDHR.
Did anything get broken when you played that game?
No, I didn't break anything
Surprisingly
whenever I
not.
played that game. I'm way too calm to be a Twitch streamer, to be quite honest.
I mean, he got frustrated. Like, he got avidly frustrated, but he didn't.
I didn't break nothing.
My hopes and dreams got shattered playing that game. So
You thought you were good
Same.
at platformer.
I have not played that game either. So.
The traditional roguelite dungeon crawler, Super Meat Boy. Definitely give it to them. And there's one that I haven't played, but I've watched a lot of gameplay, and that's gonna be Moonlighter. Moonlighter was an RPG roguelite, and it's beautiful. And Beat Saber. I never played it, but I watched it, and it looks absolutely nuts.
Looks so much fun.
Beat Saber is
Looks
a lot harder than it looks. And
Oh,
it's
no,
great.
100%. I definitely don't doubt
Just
that
like
at all.
I've seen some gameplay on what is that other one? The Super Hot VR or whatever.
Oh,
that one
yeah.
doesn't look too bad
Super
either.
hot. So if we were talking, I mean, of course, talking about overall, I mean, we think that indie devs are better than AAA companies. Of course, revenue-wise, AAA companies are going to be light years ahead of indie games. But if there was indie games coming out, I don't know if you guys pay attention to indie game scene that's developing as we speak. Is there any titles that you guys are excited for? Me personally, I'm so excited to see where last year is going to go. Last year just
Same.
came out. It's I don't even know the genre, honestly, of what it actually is. Would you call it an arena horror game? I don't know.
There is actually a genre for them, and I
Oh.
think it's
That was online survival horror or something like that.
well, there's that one too, but there's another one. I was watching a speedrunner the other night. She brought it up, and I can't remember what the hell she called it.
I guess they
I think it
call it
was
survival
asymmetrical horror.
Asymmetrical survival horror or something like that.
I think it was asymmetrical horror game is what she called it, because it's one killer versus 5 people or 4 people, right, depending
Go
on
for
the
it.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was the category that she put it in, and it made a lot of sense at the time that she said it. So,
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I'm really excited to see where last year is gonna go. I am super excited to see where I've been watching the development for Mavericks. I haven't really been playing it, but I've been watching the development for Mavericks, and I think it's gonna be a really solid game. It's a very slow process, but I think it's gonna be very good.
Dumb question. What is Mavericks?
It's hard to explain now because they're changing they're changing what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be a 1,000-man battle royale mixed in with an MMO system, and
basically,
they're changing
the way that they had originally implemented it was going to be Escape from Tarkov battle royale style.
Yeah.
Is the way that pretty much most people took it. As you had your MMO style and then battle royale.
Seems interesting.
Does.
Did you have anything else you're going to add there, Fly?
No, that was it. That was where I
All
was
right,
at.
I'm gonna pass that torch over to Raider then. Any
What
indie
torch?
games that you're interested in?
Not really.
Considering I know that you're the newer person here for all the indie game scene.
Yeah, not really.
All right, that's cool. Sam?
Oh, there was one they showed at E3. It's called Ancestors. Where you start off as like in the
Oh,
prehistoric. and then,
yeah.
yeah. I got high hopes for that. I mean, other than the trailer, we really don't know much about it. But I feel like if it's done right, it should be a solid game.
All right, yeah. I watched a little bit of the trailers here for it, and it was brought up in the other podcast too. By
Krista brought
who's
it
her-
up.
Yeah, Krista brought it up. That was interesting. Me personally, I'm actually been following a game called Satisfact. Now, I don't know if you guys are
What is it?
like the Minecraft style stuff, right?
Oh, she brought that
But-
up as well. That's wait.
But it's basically what it is it's a factory building
Oh no.
first
Understood
person.
that.
Well, I wouldn't really say adventure. Their description here is a first person open world factory building sim. Right. So basically, what it is, it's like, from what I've seen, open world creative game where you get to go through and make different types of factories that do different things in a first person platform. And just from what I've been watching and whatnot, I'm actually, I'm excited about this because I've watched a decent amount of Factorio, and I've watched Minecraft Skyforge mods, and the different things that people make, and those things are great. And I'm interested to see what they do with this, because it gets to be, you start off with a small factory and you give it a few things, and then you get to expand it across a very large area. So I like to build things. That's why it's caught my eye so much.
To each his own, sir. I've never been into those type of games.
Sounds like a kind of like a tycoon type game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the closest I've got to playing that stuff was Roller Coaster Tycoon, I think it was. Yeah, that was about it. And all I did was just not complete the track and just kill everybody. But
yeah, here, I'll share with you guys the video that I watched, and then we could just link it in the description on the YouTube video.
Well, I'll probably watch it after the podcast, but I'll put it in there.
Well, I mean, like, for everybody else who'd be interested in checking it out, right? That's their E3 announcement, which shows a lot of like already done factories that they have going and whatnot, and a few other things. So,
where did you put it?
Just in the general.
Okay, I was like, wait, you put it?
Yeah.
So speaking on the terms of big name companies have been doing something lately that I feel like has been bothering a lot of us, but some people like them, some people don't. But to the extent of microtransactions, what do you guys feel like would be the extent of microtransactions? Do you feel like it would make the game pay to win? Do you feel like a microtransaction would be something where you just loot crate, or what do you feel?
If it's for I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
If it's for cosmetics, I'm with it.
Okay.
Everything else, like if it's, I can buy a fucking level 9,000 whatever from day one.
Stupid.
No, that I feel like that not only does it break the game, but it takes the fun out of the game.
True.
Like there's nothing to work for. Like you can buy anything from day one, so you don't have anything to work for except a number by your level, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like as long as it's for cosmetics, I don't mind microtransaction. Now, do we consider DLC microtransactions?
I wouldn't consider it a microtransaction.
No, the things that I would consider a microtransaction would be like, gonna use Destiny for instance, silver, right? So you have to buy X amount of silver, then you go over to Test Eververse, and then you have to buy whatever there.
Yeah.
Right.
Hugest example, it'd be like mobile games where you can buy like 9,000 gems for $99. Just stuff in mobile games. Every mobile game, in the sense, will have microtransactions. It's a way to help them out because almost every mobile game developer is an indie game developer. Me personally, I agree with Sam. I mean, I've been a long avid like skin buyer for the longest time. I think I've spent way more money than I've needed to. H1Z1. My inventory was unnecessary. I think whenever I sold all of my stuff, I made double profit back, but I made at least $2,500 from my H1Z1 inventory. PUBG inventory, I made $1,300, and if only I could sell my Fortnite account, I can only imagine. But
Post it on Twitter.
It's illegal in the terms of service, so can't do that. Account would get banned. But it's just one of those things where cosmetics are great. I feel like cosmetics makes everybody their own person. Skins equals wins is what we always say, as a joke, because you feel like in your mentality you do better because you look better in the game. I personally don't want to look like everybody. I mean, if it's third person, I can understand. First person, give me gun, skins, because I'm gonna pay attention to that. First person, I mean, third person, give me more skin than gun skins. I don't personally care too much about gun skins. I mean, I did an H1, but I mean, that's whatever.
Yeah, but H1 there was a focal point on your weapon, and you could see it quite a bit, especially when you put it on your backpack. Like
in Fortnite now, they added skins, which I mean, hey, that's cool. It's whichever. They added them to the battle pass. They're definitely evolving in Fortnite. I personally don't want to go on the topic of Fortnite. I don't hate Fortnite, but it's just I don't want to go. I don't want to talk about Fortnite too much. But Fortnite being the example, they have, you know, skins coming out tons and tons. The game is getting worse and worse because of what they're doing to it, adding planes and all this other stuff. A lot of people are against the planes. There's no point in having the planes. It's really dumb. But ultimately, I feel like microtransactions, if it's for cosmetics, are perfectly fine. I don't feel like you should be able to buy better weapons, kind of like on Roblox, for example. You can spend money on one of the game modes in Roblox. I don't remember. It was a game that we were all playing, except for Raider. Raider wasn't playing it. But Sam, we were playing it. I don't remember what the name of it was.
Miners?
No, in Roblox.
I am excited for Murder Miners too.
In Roblox.
It was like that Call of Duty game thing. Do you remember what it was?
No, that
it
was
started with an S. I don't remember.
Roblox.
Okay. It was like Operation something.
It was you, Ryan, and me. I played it a little.
Yeah. It was Operation something.
No, it started with an S, for sure. I don't remember what the fuck it was called though.
But you know, in that game, you could go and purchase one of the stronger snipers in the game and call it a day. And it's like, what the fuck? Or you could just grind out, but the grind took like so long, and it was ridiculous. So I just feel like if you're gonna have something like that in the game, make it cosmetics. Like Sam said, don't make it to where you can pretty much buy your way to victory. Stupid.
We learned from what was this, Battlefront 2, Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
See, that's why EA is not allowed. They kicked EA off of the Battlefront series.
Yeah. Like with that there, like that was one of the dumbest things ever. Like sure, you could go through and do your daily challenges and get your credits and whatnot. You know, go unlock a few boxes and whatnot. But the fact that they put it up there that you could then spend money on crystals and buy those boxes, and the worst part is that, like, you know, if you're gonna do it that way, yeah, sure, do it something like what Bleach does, and you can buy X amount of spirit orbs, and then you get a random 10 draw ticket for a chance at one of those things, right? At a 5-star hero that you can then go and upgrade to a 6-star, right? It's not a guaranteed top of the line right off the bat, maxed out, go fuck everything up.
Oh,
but the fact that the way that EA did it was that, oh yeah, you can spend X amount of money, get X amount of crystals, buy these boxes and upgrade for your characters, and then they put them at astronomical prices, right? And then the fact that most of the cards that you would get in these boxes, if you got all of them fully upgraded, were just stupidly overpowered. You know, I could see if they had released that at a later date in the timeline of the game being out, like let everybody play the game for a year, and then release the option to buy them for the newer players to kind of catch up to where everybody else was, I wouldn't have been upset about it. But the fact that they did it a few months after the game was out and just gave people an unrealistic head start because they have a fucking credit card that they're borrowing from mom and dad, like that I feel is what killed it. So like that's my one thing about microtransactions, is that if the game has been out for a year and you're wanting newer players to get the chance to be allowed to catch up to a degree to some of the people who have been playing nonstop for a year, then I say fine, that's okay, because you know it's for the people who are newer trying to catch up, not for those who are already sunk 170,000 hours in to just keep getting farther ahead.
I co-sign it. I'm with you on it.
Facts.
Just I don't want anything from day one. Like as soon as I buy the game, if I got credit card laying around, I can just I just buy this and there it is, boom.
Well, what's the use in buying the game then? Like I mean, if you can't grind anything out.
People like bragging rights. I don't know why in this day and age. But yeah, to be able to say that I'm the best in the game, or I have something that takes forever to get, but I'm rich enough to get it day one. So I'm gonna show bloat and tweet it, take pictures of it, and gloat with it. That type of stuff. Instant gratification in this day and age. That's what everyone's out for.
And I am not liking the fact that they are adding that to day one release packages. If you're playing a survival horror game, Resident Evil 7 for example, they give you the extra life pack in the beginning. They give you an extra med kit and extra ammo and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But whenever you're dropping custom guns that you can download off rip, why are you putting guns that you can purchase that do more damage than the guns that you normally have?
You just brought up another great topic though. Like, because I didn't think about microtransactions in single player games. Because
I'm fine with microtransactions in single player games as long as they don't make the experience too easy. Like, for example, whenever this wasn't a microtransaction, but whenever Outlast 2 came out, people were complaining at how difficult the game was, and the developers released a patch that made the game easier. No, they released that patch after I beat the game.
I was gonna say that game wasn't that hard to beat. Granted, I only played it on normal, but
I played it on normal as well. But it's like, if you're playing on harder levels, you're gonna get a harder game. What do you?
The only time I died is because I just wanted to see what the death scene would look like, kind of like how I did in what's that game? Dead Space? Yeah, literally.
Dead Space.
Yeah, because sometimes you want to just check out the death animation, so you just die on purpose. But that's just me. I don't know.
I've never
actually
check out the death animation ever.
But since you brought up Dead Space, Sam, that actually brings up a very good game to talk about for this topic, because Dead Space 3, right? You could actually go through and buy scrap drones that would then go out when you release them at certain locations and wherever you are, and they would go find you scrap and whatnot. Right, which then made your scavenging 100 times easier. Not that it was much harder in the game without those extra drones, but it was one of those things that you actually had to pick. All right, am I going to release my drone here to get extra resources, or am I going to wait until a potentially richer spot pops up? Now, once you've beaten the game 5 times, I actually kind of had fun with the game, and I was just kind of pissing around with different gun combinations for the most part. You'd kind of learn which scrap spots are the more rich ones, and you would just do it anyway, which is great speedrun tactics. But it's one of those things that you could buy all this extra stuff, which then defeated the purpose of the game, because that game was one of those games where it's supposed to be, you have minimal ammo, you have minimal resources to make better guns, you're supposed to survive. But the fact that you punch and kill everything, you kill everything in the game, kill all the necromorphs, and then you stomp on their body, and all of a sudden all the ammo that you're using for the gun that you have comes out in troves of it, you're just drowning in ammo at that point in time. It's what happened to Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, where ammo was actually hard to come by, or you had to save up things to sell and then buy a fuck ton of the ammo you were going to use, because 2 shots from a plasma cutter cuts off all the fucking limbs on an enemy. No, you have to sink 7 shots into the dude before his limb falls off. Gazoon type.
Yeah, I didn't play much of Dead Space 3. I think I played the demo, and I played the first 2 hours of it. But from what you just stated, I feel like that's just them throwing that in the game is trying to keep up with the times, and considering how different it was back then. Because now, I can see how not having ammo, or not having the necessities to get through the game can be frustrating for a casual player. Let me say that, for a casual player.
I mean, I can understand that, but at the same point in time, if you go back and you look at Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, right? Because I'm assuming you've played a lot.
I played the first one and the second one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But it's not that ammo was few and far between in those games. It was nicely distributed,
right?
But you had to kind of pick and choose what you wanted to use. You couldn't just run out there, fill up your inventory with, line gun ammo and expect to get through the entire game with the line gun, the pulse rifle, the javelin, and the fusion cutter, right? You couldn't have 4 guns on you because you had such a limited space to start with. You had to micromanage what you wanted to use. If you were going to pick up that extra ammo, it was usually right before a save station, so you could sell it and buy more ammo that you actually need.
Right.
But the way that they worked free was that you would start your mission, you'd run through an area, you'd pick up a fuck ton of ammo, and most of the guns use the same generic, like minus the line gun, the force gun, or like whatever the force cannon thing was, and one other gun. But the other gun, like the SMGs, the pulse or the line rifle, and or not the line rifle, but the plasma cutter. Any gun, any ammunition based gun, use the same ammo. Right, so like you could make an SMG, you could make a pistol, you could make a revolver, you could make a shotgun, for Christ's sake, and it would all use the same generic ammo. Right, like it wasn't like the other games where you had to have pulse rifle, line rifle ammo, you know, Ripper blades for the Ripper and all that other stuff. No, you could just literally use one type of ammo and it covered that, like those 4 different variations of guns.
I see.
So it was one of those things that there was an overabundance of resources, and it just made it so that way the game was literally just a run and gun shooter. Even on the hardest difficulty, you could breeze through it like it was nothing with just the starting equipment.
Now, do you think that was the game trying to just evolve and not be the same from the first two, or do you just think that's just something they put in there to make it a little easier for the casual players?
I honestly feel that it was them trying to evolve and keep up to the times, while catering to the casual players at the time. Because there were so many things that, like pre-order bonuses, and then with the microtransactions that you could buy all this extra shit with, that made no sense for, you know, somebody like me who would play a hardcore run where the moment you die, you restart completely.
I personally, and I agree with them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I personally don't feel like whenever it comes to survival games that these companies should reduce the difficulty. I don't feel like they should make the game easier so that people can play through them. I feel like honestly they should keep the game at the difficulty that they originally released them at, because that's what makes the game the game.
I agree, but that dates back to like the times now. Like you got social media and all this stuff. Like back then, like just say like the original Zelda on the NES. Like you didn't have access to all these websites and stuff to know what to do. So in a sense, that kind of made the game hard, because
that's why you spent the extra $15. You had your parents buy the extra $15. You got the whole walkthrough book in your hand, physical copy.
You're right. And just another game that resonates to what you're saying is Dark Souls. Like I totally agree that like I feel like they shouldn't water the game down and make it easier, but on the same strength, I see why they do it, because like I say, you get a group full of casual players that are just constantly getting killed because they feel like the game is too hard, and then they're all over these sites, these blogs, all over type of media, just dogging the game out. And then you got to think how that plays a factor into the developers and the sales of the games and all that for the people who haven't played it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a sense, but I'm 100% what you do. I feel like if you're playing a game like Dark Souls, you're playing a game like Dead Space, or you're playing a game knowing that this game is not going to be easy, you shouldn't pick it up and expect it to just breeze through it, regardless if there's microtransactions in it or not. Like you should be willing to tough it out, so to say. Like just take your deaths, tough it out, and just trial and error it, if anything.
It's just
learn the game mechanics, push through it.
Exactly. That's the point of playing a story mode game. I don't get it. It's literally just.
You say that, but I'm thinking like, that could possibly be another topic for another.
Right.
It's the generation.
The difficulty in games escalating. And I completely agree. So with the microtransactions, we all feel, that there's goods and bads to having them all. Does anybody else want to say anything else about the microtransactions or about what we talked about at all today in general?
I feel like one of the worst games games, should I say, that's getting bad about microtransactions is probably like Madden, FIFA, all of them, with like having to basically, when you're playing like Ultimate Team, for example.
Yeah.
and you have to buy the packs in order to get the amount of or good cards out of anything. I feel like that's where they ruined Madden for everybody. I personally used to love playing Madden, and now I don't even fucking play it anymore because of that.
Yeah, because I feel like sports games are the heaviest games built around microtransactions, because you open up the gold packs and that's how you get your players, and then you can use those teams on what's the 20? Is it My Playground or something like that?
Yeah, My Playground and shit,
and NBA and stuff like that. I just don't feel like that should be.
Yeah, I definitely got a little.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know too much about it. I know one of the streamers for Double Helix, Trey, like he plays sports games. I also know one of the streamers I watch, it's Wolfie. She her boyfriend plays he plays NBA as well, or 2K. So I don't know too much about it. I'm just going off of what I've seen. I don't know. I don't think that that's been a thing for a long time. I think that's been something that's prominent within the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah,
that had to just start, because I was gonna say it wasn't microtransactions back then. You had to put a cheat code in at the start screen to unlock the best teams in the game.
I mean, let's talk about NFL Street, but I mean we can talk about we'll bring it up another day.
Yeah.
We'll bring it up
like, whoa, there's microtransactions in sports games now. This start.
Yeah, it's gotten bad, man. Like, I mean, they have it to where you can spend like $100 and you'll be set.
Right.
But, like, it's insane. Like that's my whole reason of why I have not even played any Madden games.
The cheat code doesn't exist anymore.
No.
No, the cheat code is a credit card nowadays.
Yep.
You gotta pay for them cheat codes.
Right.
Not up, down, left, right. Up, down, left, right.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore and unlock the.
It's the 12 digits on the front and the 3 digits on the back. That's your
the expiration date.
The expiration date, yeah.
I thought shooters had it bad. God dang.
Like, and then the other thing too that I'm gonna bring up on the microtransactions there is Halo Wars 2. Right, with the Blitz mode. Each team has blitz packs that you can get, right, for each hero faction that you can use, right? So like Sergeant Forge or Androxus or all the other teams. And in each of these packs are cards that you can use to make a deck, but every time you get a copy of the same card, it upgrades it further, right? Until you max the card out. Well, now I don't know what the card level is because I've never actually achieved that with any of the cards. Because I usually get 2 or 3 duplicates, but that's about it. But you can earn a handful of these cards from either playing through the story or just playing Blitz mode, and you can unlock other packs, kind of thing. But they still also gave you the option to buy them, which, like, in my opinion, was dumb, because once you've maxed out all your cards, then what?
Yeah,
like that was what you were supposed to grind through the Blitz mode for, was to max out your cards, so that way you could go do like Blitz firefights they brought out later that you could sit there and just defend and whatever. So I feel that microtransactions like that allow you to get a jump start to being end game when the game comes out defeat the purpose of playing the game.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be something that games rely on. I mean, I kind of thinking about sports games, and I feel like I'm gonna end my intake on it here, because we'll bring it up later when we have, I guess, other people that are more knowledgeable about sports games. I guess with sports games, it's something that has to happen because there's no really other way to unlock those players.
Really? Wait, you can't go through like the career mode to unlock characters now and all in sports games?
I mean,
I don't think that there is.
In Madden, there's like the only other way for you to unlock cards is to do what they call is like Madden Ultimate Seasons or whatever, and it's like different like types of seasons. Like you can go through every team's season through the year, or say like the playoffs just came up, so they are gonna have like a playoff like section for you to unlock the top tier cards for this playoffs. And I mean, you can unlock them there, but other than that, that's about it.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the last Madden I bought was 2005. So
yeah. But so we'll bring this up on another podcast. We are coming into the closing time. Does anybody want to say anything before we get out of here?
And shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you guys on here. I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys more as the podcasts grow and continue on. I would like to say this stream, of course, is sponsored by Double Helix Esports and in partner with Rogue Energy and Aporia Customs. Today was a great day. I think we talked and hit on a lot of different topics. For those watching on YouTube, if you guys would like to be a part of the podcast and be a part of the sessions themselves, message me. If don't message me. Sorry, I can't think right now. Come into my stream on Twitch. The link will be in the description below, and or put it in the comment section. I try and look through some of the comments. We don't have a lot of them, so comment away. But or follow me on Twitter. I'll put all the links to the social medias of the guys that joined me today, Thane, Raider, and Sam. I do appreciate you guys coming on and having the great conversations that we talked about. But we are going to go ahead and get out to end another episode of the NOS Cast, the new school, old school podcast. Wow, I've been saying this for 3 episodes now. I should really get that under wraps. But the NOS Cast, the new school, old school podcast. I do appreciate you guys for coming on. I appreciate everybody for listening. If you've made it this far into the video, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all of the support. We're gonna go ahead and jump out of here. And until next time.
Make Halo great again.
Jesus.